Welcome to Everyday Blue Zone Foods. I'm your host, Laura Coombs, author of the book Of Course Your Knees Hurt and creator of the 10-week Age Strong program. You can find me, my program, and my book at the book's website, ofcourseyourkneeshurt.com. Before we get started with today's webinar, grab the worksheet that goes along with this talk, or if you don't have it, grab a paper and pencil. You'll want to make some notes as we go along to help you implement what you learned today. I'm excited that you're here and I'm proud of you for taking time to step into the blue zones with me. So let's dig right in. Why are we here today? Well, I think you're here because you're on a mission. Sure, you want to know more about the blue zones and the specific foods they eat, and I'll definitely teach you what those are. But maybe you're also on a mission to make some healthy swaps to your diet or to really take charge of your nutrition. Or maybe you're in a rut and need some new ideas. Or maybe you want a fresh start on your health journey altogether. So, why are you here? Is one of those things your mission? Take a few seconds to ponder that and write down somewhere on your worksheet, what do you really want to get out of today's webinar? The good news is there are so many ways to take charge of your nutrition, and information on foods and diets is absolutely everywhere. And let's face it, all that information gets a little overwhelming, even frustrating. And you might be having a hard time implementing all that information into the reality of your everyday diet. Finding a sustainable, healthy diet that you can tiptoe into and finally stick to is a great mission. And that's the journey that we're on together today. And why am I here? Well, I'm here with you to distill down some of that information about food and nutrition. I've made it my mission over my 30-year career in health and fitness to sift through all of the stuff and all of the science that's out there and bring it to you in simple, manageable chunks that are doable, sensible, and highly impactful. My job as a coach is to help you find ways to make important changes to your health by baby stepping into new habits that give you the biggest possible bang and habits that you can stick to. So when I came across the Blue Zones, the website, the cookbook, and the video course, I knew I had to share it with you. So what are the Blue Zones? Well, blue zones are specific geographic regions around the globe where people are living well into their 90s and even their 100s. And they're not just living long, they are truly living well. They are supremely healthy and highly resistant to age related diseases like dementia, cancer, stroke, heart disease, and even arthritis is very rare in the blue zones. And the people here live long, happy lives with a sense of joy, purpose, and vigor that we don't typically associate with old age. The five original blue zones are found in Greece, Italy, Japan, Costa Rica, and even Loma Linda, California. These regions and these people have been studied extensively since 2005, most famously by National Geographic explorer Dan Buettner. What Dan and other researchers have found is that the blue zones and their residents all have a few things in common. First, their lifestyle is designed for movement, not the movement like gym memberships or exercise classes or marathons, but functional, consistent daily movement. For example, they walk instead of drive, they use tools instead of machines, and they actually look for opportunities to add physical work and movement to their day. I don't think elevator or remote control are even in their vocabulary, let alone treadmills. Second, The Blue Zone culture prioritizes people and families, relationships and community, and everyone matters. In fact, in the Blue Zones, the elderly and the aging process are highly valued and highly honored. That's great news for those of us that are aging. Third, the Blue Zone mindset is one of gratitude and purpose. Instead of focusing on what they need to do or what they wish they had or how much money they could accumulate, they regularly engage in hobbies, interests, and socializing, along with a dedicated spiritual or religious practice. They've created so many ways to make their days and their lives meaningful, and they celebrate each of these blessings. So, what do they eat in the blue zones? The fourth thing they do right here, of course, is food. And that is what this webinar will focus on. Food in the blue zones is regarded as a necessary, deliberate act of nourishment. How different from our attitudes about food, right? We talked about the 6 blue zone guidelines for eating in another webinar. Let me know if you'd like the link to that. In the blue zones, food is honored with sensible, mindful habits that naturally discourage overeating and improve the digestion and absorption of vital nutrients. Imagine how happy this makes their cells. They also eat foods that are in season and readily available in their region or in their own backyards. The Blue Zone diet has actually been compared to that of a peasant diet, kind of like the foods that our great grandparents probably ate. These foods tend to be simple, inexpensive, and real. No packaged or processed health food that's made in a factory. And don't worry, there are plenty of ways to make this kind of food quick and tasty. Now, I should mention that 95% of the Blue Zone diet is plant based. Don't give up on me yet. If you're not ready to go totally plant based, that's okay. Even a few small steps in the plant based direction can add up to healthy, conscientious moves that you can be proud of. You might want to tiptoe into a plant based diet like I'm doing. I've gradually used the add and swap method more and more over the last few years, like adding more beans into my chili and cutting back on the meat, or swapping garbanzos for grilled chicken on my salads. And I have found that that's a much more sustainable approach for me than just giving up all animal products cold turkey. I mean, cold beans, right? Coaching people about food can definitely be tricky since everyone has different preferences and different reasons for eating the way they do. I don't know what your lifestyle, your culture, or your current habits are, so the recommendations that I'm about to make may or may not fit perfectly into your daily diet. And I'm not a doctor or a registered dietitian, so I'm not qualified to tell you exactly what to eat. So today, let's just take a peek together at what they eat in the blue zones. And let's start thinking about whether or not these are foods that you'd like to start adding and swapping in your favorite meals. After all, you're on a mission, right? So let's get started. So have that worksheet ready and start jotting down some ideas that you can implement today. The first blue zone food is beans. Look how pretty these are. From the nutty black beans of Costa Rica to the gorgeous garbanzos of Greece, beans are eaten in every blue zone in one form or another. And for good reason. They're cheap, filling, and readily available. Take a wander down the bean aisle next time you're in the grocery store. There are so many beans. I love beans because they're non perishable and I can stock up to make sure that I always have several varieties in my pantry. And as far as nutrition, beans are a true superfood, They are full of protein and energizing complex carbohydrates. They're also beneficial in lowering your bad cholesterol, lowering your blood pressure, reducing inflammation, and managing type 2 diabetes. My gosh, beans are a superfood for sure. And of course, any discussion on beans needs to mention gas. Am I right? Yes, the fiber and the prebiotics in beans are very, shall we say, active participants in your overall gut health. All 20 feet of your intestines can benefit from beans and their ability to keep things moving and keep your healthy gut bacteria balanced. If you have a digestive disorder or an allergy to beans, and they're definitely a no no for you, don't worry. I'm going to share 5 other foods that you can add to your Blue Zone diet. And if you are able to eat beans, remember to cook raw beans thoroughly and rinse canned beans completely to reduce the gassy effects. Now, let's move on to more pleasant conversation. So, how are we going to get excited about eating beans? Sure, by themselves, beans are not particularly tempting or delicious. So, let's take a minute to think of some ways to jazz them up. What flavors do you like? Barbecue, Tex Mex, pesto, pizza? Perfect. Using the sauces and spices that you'd use for your favorite meals can make your beans more interesting and more likely that you'll keep adding them to your diet. For example, I like to cook up my lentils with ground meat and taco seasoning and then smother the mixture with avocado, salsa, and shredded veggies. Not exactly a peasant diet because I didn't get the ingredients from my own backyard, but definitely a good step in the right direction. And so much cheaper than just using ground meat alone. Adding the lentils stretches my grocery dollar and adds so much great nutrition without changing the flavor of my taco bowl at all. Here's another idea. Try smashing garbanzo beans with lemon and dill and add them to your sandwich, or toss them into a nice dinner salad to amp up your protein and fiber. The nice thing about beans is they're pretty bland, so dressing them up or even disguising them is pretty easy. Take a few seconds now to jot down exactly what adding or swapping with beans might look like for you. Just a half cup each day can make a difference to your health. Maybe you'll try tossing some beans into your favorite soup or putting them in a crock pot with a dab of barbecue sauce and serving them with your favorite sides like a picnic. What about ordering the bean burrito instead of the steak fajitas next time? Pick something that you can do to eat more beans, about a half cup a day, and jot it down. I'll give you 20 seconds to come up with some ideas. The second Blue Zone food is whole grains. What a surprise! The very food that has been demonized, vilified, and virtually eliminated from popular diet trends is actually one of the staples of a Blue Zone diet. Again, these are the people who are living well into their 90s and 100s. They must be doing something right, and I'm definitely paying attention. In the Blue Zones, whole grains are part of a whole food diet, which is very different from the overprocessed snacky grains we are used to, like the crackers, cereals, and breakfast bars we like to grab when we're hungry. The Blue Zoners are eating whole oats, whole barley, semolina, and rye, just to name a few, instead of the all you can eat breadsticks or chocolate dipped peanut butter granola fiber bars. Yeah, those are the carbs that are worth giving up. No controversy there. But by adding and swapping some whole grains, you'll get tons of natural fiber, plant protein, and more of those energizing complex carbs. And just like beans, whole grains are cheap and readily available. Take some time to explore your grocery aisles or ask someone who works there to point you in the right direction if whole grains are new to you. Now, here's the thing, if you know you're intolerant to whole grains, obviously don't eat them. Otherwise, maybe there's room in your breakfast for some oats instead of eggs, or maybe you're ready to add barley to your beef stew, or a slice of seedy sourdough to your sandwich. I made a whole grain pilaf with chopped fresh herbs, lemon juice, and pistachios, and it was every bit as satisfying as a bowl of plain old macaroni, and so much better for my health. If you're still on the fence about whole grains, try adding about a cup each day for a few weeks. This is a recommendation I often make to my clients who complain of low energy and sugar cravings, and they are astounded at how much better they feel, look, and perform by just adding 1 cup of cooked whole grains every day. They always find that they're less hungry and more energetic. I know that when I add small amounts of whole grains to my breakfast and lunch, my day is definitely a lot more productive and I'm not so tempted to snack on sugary junk. So go ahead and jot down some ideas on your worksheet in the box labeled whole grains. What do you want to try adding or swapping? And remember, you don't have to do this every day or every meal if you're not ready for that much change. But adding and swapping here and there can definitely add up to some big changes. The Blue Zone food number 3 is greens. And I think greens probably fall under the category of, yep, I know that. After all, we've been told forever that we should be eating more green leafy vegetables. But are you really doing it every single day? A full serving? And are you properly wilting your greens over low heat so that they are more effectively delivering those essential green leafy nutrients? Nope, neither was I. This is one that I really have to work at. Lucky for me, I actually like wilted greens, especially since a friend taught me to sprinkle a little nutmeg over them to make the bitter taste go away. And I still love cooking them like that. Every week, I rotate my greens so I don't overbuy and end up wasting them or get stuck in a nutritional rut from always eating just one type. This week, I wilted a big bag of arugula, and I've been adding a quarter cup serving to whatever I'm eating for dinner. My favorite concoction is garbanzo beans with pesto, sun dried tomatoes, and a double serving of arugula. It is so good. And that pesto definitely makes everything taste more interesting. I've also worked wilted greens into my casseroles, my crock pots, my soup, and my Buddha bowls. Dressing them up like that makes them so much more appealing than just a big old clump of canned spinach, right? Remember now that greens like spinach, arugula, collards, and Swiss chard are part of the dirty dozen, which means that they are often grown with high amounts of pesticides and that they absorb those pesticides. So buy organic greens when you can, or better yet, grow them yourself. They are one of the easiest things to grow in sunny home gardens or pots. Of course, there are many other healthy veggies too, and it's important to keep eating those. But greens just happen to be the vegetable that each of the blue zones have in common, probably because they're so easy and so cheap to grow in almost any climate. And eating just a quarter cup of wilted greens each day can significantly reduce your risk of disease. I'd say that's a pretty easy win. So, how are you feeling about beans, whole grains, and greens right now? Tiptoeing into a blue zone diet does not have to be abrupt or unpleasant, but it does require some small changes. Take a few seconds to jot down some more ideas on how you'll add, swap, or dress up the three foods we've covered so far. And the blue zone food number four is nuts. Finally, an easy one. And the good news is, every nut seems to have blue zone approval. Go ahead and eat 2 handfuls a day of your favorite whole raw nuts. Besides tasting so good, nuts are packed with oily plant fats that are great for your heart, blood vessels, and the fatty protective layer of your cells. As if that wasn't enough, nuts can also lower your risk of type 2 diabetes, gallstones, colon cancer, inflammation, excess body fat, and cellular stress. Now, different nuts have some different individual benefits. So mix them up and try them all. Nuts are my favorite snack and my favorite salad topper. How will you get your 2 servings a day? Remember that you can mix and match here, and nuts go perfectly with whole grains. Blue zone food number five is olive oil. Now, we've all seen enough cooking shows to know that every good recipe starts by coating the pan with olive oil, right? Well, in the blue zones, they actually add olive oil at the end of the cooking process. They use olive oil as a rich, flavorful garnish to their cooked food, and they drizzle it over beans, soups, and greens just before serving. Now, be smart here. 1 tablespoon of olive oil does pack about 100 calories and 14 grams of fat, so this is not a free pass to overconsume it. But olive oil, particularly extra virgin olive oil, is a heart healthy blue zone choice. I knew that it was an unsaturated fat and good for my blood vessels, but I was excited to learn that it's also loaded with a special group of antioxidants that reduce the risk of cancer, inflammation, and cognitive decline, and can actually reverse our genetic expression for these diseases. I think that's a great reason to leave the olive oil right on the countertop and remember to pair it with my garbanzos and arugula. I've also found some amazing flavored olive oils that are infused with delicious things like lemons and herbs and mushrooms and garlic. What a treat, and what an easy, yummy way to take better care of your cells and your health. Blue zone food number six is herbs. Herbs are another easy thing to grow in a sunny garden or pot. And what a great way to make those beans and greens taste better. Part of the reason they're so widely used in the blue zones is that herbs can add so much flavor to basic peasant food. And when they're grown nearby and used at their freshest, they aren't just flavorful, they're medicinal. Let's take rosemary. Rosemary has been studied extensively by scientists who have verified what our global ancestors knew all along. This hardy herb is packed with compounds that are antiviral, antithrombotic, anti-cancerous, anti-inflammatory, and anti-aging. Even the smell of rosemary has benefits. It actually improves cognitive performance and memory. I definitely need more rosemary in my life. And this is cool too. The specific medicinal acid in rosemary is also found in lemon balm, sage, and peppermint. This family of herbs and your dinners just got a whole lot tastier and healthier. Now, before you run to the store to buy rosemary supplements, why not just grow it yourself? It's a perennial herb that does great in pots. So, for most of us, that means we can plant it once and enjoy its benefits and its taste year after year. And rosemary, of course, isn't the only longevity herb. For example, cilantro, which is used in the blue zone of Costa Rica, is beneficial for digestion, anxiety, blood sugar regulation, and removal of toxic metals from the body. And this is just the beginning of the long list of reasons we should be adding or swapping herbs to our diets. There's more to flavor than just salt and pepper, after all. Do a quick search to learn about the health benefits of the herbs that you like and make some notes about which ones you'd like to try this week. I think you'll be inspired to add them to your garden and your plate. Blue zone food number 7 is herb's best friend, spices. Let's spice up this conversation about flavor. Here's another way to make those peasant foods taste better and to deliver another dose of longevity to your cells. Remember how I mentioned using nutmeg on my greens? Well, it turns out that nutmeg is a strong antioxidant and it's antimicrobial and an antifungal super spice. Boy, if there's one thing the Blue Zones all do right, they use food as preventative medicine. And this definitely makes me want to spice up my spice rack this weekend. Cinnamon, cumin, cloves, cardamom, and others all have powerful compounds that make every cell in our body more disease resistant. Many delicious spices are available right in your grocery store, and most health foods sell them in bulk so you can buy just the right amount. Think how easy and yummy it'll be to sprinkle some disease fighting spice on your morning oatmeal, in your green smoothie, or in your favorite sauces. Think about how you'll use spices in your everyday diet and jot down a few ideas on your worksheet. I'll give you a few more seconds to take another look at how these 6 longevity foods are really coming together in a very delicious way. Now, we have just scratched the surface today with Blue Zone foods. And there are certainly other foods that round out a Blue Zone diet, like tofu and sesame oil in Japan, and coconut and papaya in Costa Rica. But I started us off today with these 6 because they were common in every region and commonly available to most of us. For you to really increase your longevity and your health span, though, you need to believe that your daily diet is contributing to your overall health. In fact, 90% of your longevity and health span are determined by your lifestyle, not your family history. So even if you don't live in Sardinia or Okinawa or Loma Linda, you can take charge of your outcomes. You can start today by adding, swapping, mixing, matching, and dressing up these powerful longevity foods. And you can use food as medicine. Your everyday diet has cumulative effects. And I am so excited for you to get started with these Blue Zone foods. So, what's next? Well, you can go to bluezones.com and find tons of great resources. Their website is beautifully laid out and very user friendly. I would definitely recommend visiting the site and having your workbook or your notebook handy so you can keep adding to your list of everyday solutions. And to help you master today's information, or if you have questions about this or other aspects of your health and fitness, I really would love to talk more. It might be easier than you think to streamline or refresh your current diet and develop an effective, doable plan that makes sense for you and your goals. We can do a quick Zoom call and hash it all out. It's totally free, and we can figure out together what your next best steps might be. My free consultation calendar is on my website, ofcourseyourkneeshurt.com. I hope to see you soon for a quick chat or at the next webinar. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you learned something and that you're excited, like I am, to dig into your diet and take charge of the blue zones. I am so happy to be on this mission with you.